thing into existence. That's what they're learning. But they don't want to give the credit where credit is due. Because what they're actually doing, opposed to what they think they're doing, to the unbelievers out there, to those whose minds have been clouded by the darkness of the lies and the falsehood, they see that information as being evidence to disprove that God exists. Not so. They are actually establishing evidence to substantiate that there had to be a divine creator. Because remember, what we're looking at the pros and the cons of scientific information. So now, let's take a look at something else. It's called the law of thermodynamics. Okay? Another study. When you think about these laws, for example, you have the law of thermodynamics. You have the law of physics. You have the law of gravity, which was mentioned earlier. Now, when we think about the laws and the statutes and the judgments of the Most High, our mind sometimes is just limited to keeping the commandments and things along that line. But we don't remember, we don't consider the other laws that are in place. Where do you think the law of gravity comes from? Where do you think the law of physics was derived? What do you think the law of thermodynamics is founded upon? Thermodynamics is the study of energy. Think about that. Bereshit bara Elohim. See, we talked about that term. Elohim, it means powers. Another way to say powers, energies. In the beginning, energies, powers created. Thermodynamics is the study of energy, the conversion of energy between various forms, and the ability of energy to do work. Now, the first law of thermodynamics basically says that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Hold up, hold up, hold up. Now, the universe, albeit, is not eternal, because when you study the expanding universe, here's food for thought for everybody. What exactly is expanding? Let's think about that. We'll maybe touch on that another time. Most I will. The universe, because it's been seen to expand through actually looking out there in the atmosphere, we see that expansion, if it be reversed, then it brings us back to an original starting point. In other words, it was created, it was born into being. Okay? But now, what they've discovered as far as the first law of thermodynamics, energy can either be created or destroyed. What does that mean? That it was always here. So there has to be some power, some force that always exists. That power, that force, is what we, Israel, refer to as Yah. Yah always existed. Yah brought forth a word which is a manifestation of his power into existence to perform the task that it was commanded to perform. That task to create the heavens and the earth. So let's move on. Let's look at another theory. We're going to do it this way. Let's not focus on the theory of evolution. Let's look at it as the speculation of evolution. Okay? The abstract thought of evolution, if you will. So, this is Charles Darwin now. Charles Darwin's theory of evolution is the widely held notion that all life is related and has descended from a common ancestor. Question: with the Big Bang Theory, scientists discovered that the universe originated from one particular point. With the theory of evolution, scientists discovered that all life comes from one common point, a first cause, if you will. Now here's the other question. You see that it comes from one point, you see that it comes from one cause. Why do you still deny that that one point or that one cause is the creator of the heavens and the earth? Well, let's move on. In other words, but this is where they go astray. The birds and the bananas, the fishes and the flowers, all related. All related truthfully because they all stem from the mind of the creator of the heavens and the earth. But yet they are separate and distinct entities in their existence. Darwin's general theory presumes the development of life from non-life and stresses a purely naturalistic. In other words, when they say naturalistic, the thought is undirected. And see these terms. See, these are the words that gets the average Joe confused. These big words, you know, naturalistic, or what it's supposed to imply being undirected. Being undirected simply means there's no director. You see? That they just happen. But you know what's interesting? As far as creation goes, anything that man creates is never by chance. Currently, this lesson is being recorded on a video camera. Now just imagine this video camera just coming together out of nowhere. Just imagine the tripod upon which it sits just coming out of nowhere. Just imagine this shirt that I'm wearing, and you know where the cotton comes from. Then you have the dye. Just imagine it just coming from nowhere and just automatically coming together. Sounds a little foolish when you think of it that way. But the camera, the tripod, the t-shirt had a creator. See, we learned from this life on this planet that if there be anything that comes into existence, there has to be something that makes it. Just recently, scientists have learned how to create, well, I won't say just recently, but this is something that they've been practicing for years. But just recently, it was brought to my attention that there's a documentary. My apologies for not being able to give you the name of that documentary at this time. It failed me because my mind is running with so many other things at the moment. But in this documentary, what the scientists actually did, they combined the essences or portions of different species and they created another species. Okay? Now in the mind of the scientists, what they think they're proving, you see, there was no need for a divine creator, because if this comes together and that comes together and this comes together, then you would have had this species created. But guess what, scientists? Y'all put them together. No different than what the creator of the heavens and the earth did, and we're going to see that in a minute. Now, as far as being purely naturalistic or undirected, what that thought is descent with modification. That is, complex creatures evolve from more simplistic ancestors naturally over time. In a nutshell, as random genetic mutations occur within an organism's genetic code, the beneficial mutations are preserved because they aid survival, a process known as natural selection. Now, there's some truth in that. And let me give you the explanation as to why there is some truth in that. That there was one point where, of course, you had Adam, you had Hawa, and Adam and Eve, okay? Which was the first father, first mother. Well, contrary to what many people believe, when you look at the movies that portray the Bible story, and this is not being stated in any way, shape, or form to